Hello everyone, welcome to SS Classroom and today we will discuss the membranes. Different types of membrane we will discuss in today's lectures. In previous lecture we discussed the tissue, different types of tissue we discussed, and today we will start the membranes. So first of all, discuss the different types of membranes. So first of all, a membrane divided into two, that is the cell or plasma membrane. Already we discussed the plasma membrane in the cell. Next is the tissue or body membranes. So in the today lecture, we discuss only the tissue or body membranes. Plasma membrane already we discussed in the cell. So tissue membrane or body membrane divided into seven different types of membranes. Number one, mucous membrane, also called mucosa. Second is serous membrane, that is called serosa. Cutaneous membrane, that is called skin. Synovial membrane present on the joints. Meninges present in the brain and spinal cord. Periosteum covering the bones and perichondrium covering the cartilages. So first three, mucous, serous and cutaneous, made by the epithelial tissue or connective tissue. But synovial, meninges, periosteum and perichondrium made only by the connective tissue. So this is the general classification of the different types of membrane. So we will discuss the tissue or body membrane. First is the mucous membrane. So we already know that mucous membrane present on the body cavities or line the body cavities or hollow structures of the body, just like a tube which open to the outside of the environment or outside of the body. They secrete the mucus from the goblet cells or glands that help in the lubrications, protection and trapping the microbes. For example, you can see this is the mucous membrane and this is the mucus, and these are the different types of microbes. So this mucus prevent from the different types of microbes, bacteria from entering into the structures, and also prevention from the different types of injuries to the layers. Let's discuss the locations of the mucous membrane, where it is present in the body. So what are the locations? Number one, respiratory tract. In the respiratory tract, different types of dust particles, different types of microbes attach in the mucus and transfer to the trachea and expel out into the external environment from the trachea. Next, present in the digestive tract. Next, present in the urinary tract. Next, present in the reproductive tract and conjunctiva of the eyes. So these are the five places where it is present in the body. Next, what are the functions of the mucous membranes? So already we know that what are the functions, that is the protection, secretions, absorptions, lubrications and immunity. These are the functions. Protection from the tearing and wearing of the structures, protection from the different types of bacteria, and secretions, different types of hormones and enzyme secretions, absorptions of the different types of elements or nutrients, and lubrications, prevent from the damage, directly injury, and last is the immunity. Next membrane is the serous membrane, which is also called a serosa. So serous membrane is a double layered membrane made by the epithelium tissue and line the closed body cavities, not the outside of the structures. It's a lining of the internal closed body cavities. It has two layers. So first is the parietal layer and second is the visceral layer. Parietal layer line the cavity wall and visceral layer cover the organ surfaces. For example, you can see this is the heart and these are the layers of the heart. For example, this is endocardium, and this is muscle layer pericardium, and this is the pericardium. And pericardium, first is the fibrous pericardium. This is the outer covering of the heart. Next is the parietal layer of serous pericardium. Parietal layer, this is the outer covering of the heart, and inner is the epicardium, that is the visceral layer of serous pericardium. And between them, this is the space that is called the pericardial space. And fluid is present that is called pericardial fluid, which is serous fluid, but serous fluid present in the heart that is called the pericardial fluid. And this is the pericardial cavity. So in the pericardial cavity, there is present of the fluid that is pericardial fluid, which will help for the lubrications during the beating of the heart. Next is the types and locations of the serous membrane, where it is present in the body. Number one, present in the lungs. In the lungs, the serous membrane, it is called the pleura. So you can see, this is the visceral membrane. So visceral membrane directly covering of the organ. This is the visceral membrane, visceral pleura, visceral layer. Next is the parietal layer. This is the parietal layer, directly attachment to the external wall of the chest wall. This is the parietal pleura. This is the visceral pleura. This is the diaphragm. Then this is the heart. And space between the visceral and parietal, that is called the pleural space. And fluid is present in this space, that is called the pleural fluid. Approximately 10 to 15 ml of fluid present in the pleural space, which will help for the lubrications during the inhalation and expiration, inspiration and expiration of the lungs. Next is the pericardium or heart. This is the layer of the pericardium. Already we discussed parietal layer and visceral layer, and fluid is present in the pericardial fluid. And third serous membrane present in the abdominal cavity, that is the peritoneum in the abdomen. So you can see this is the visceral layer and this is the parietal layer. And between them, the space, this is called the pericardial, peritoneal space. And fluid is present, that is called the peritoneal fluid. Approximately 15 to 60 ml of peritoneal fluid present in the peritoneum cavity. Next, what are the functions of the serous membrane? Number one, protection from the different types of bacteria and different types of physical injuries, and reduce the frictions and compartmentalizations. Compartmentalization means keep the organ in the positions. Next, third layer is the cutaneous membrane. Cutaneous membrane means skin. So there are three layers of the skin, that is the epidermis, second is dermis, and third is the hypodermis or subcutaneous. So first layer epidermis and second layer is dermis. Both is called the cutaneous membrane. So you can see cutaneous membrane is the skin largest organ of the body. It has two layers, that is the epidermis, that is the outer layer, and dermis is the inner layer. Outer layer made by the stratified squamous keratinized epithelium because of the presence of the keratin protein, and keratin protein make it the waterproof and tough layer of the skin. Second is the dermis layer. Dermis layer made by the connective tissue, which is mainly made by the dense irregular tissue, which have blood vessels, nerves, glands, and sensory receptors. And just beneath the dermis, there is layer is called the hypodermis. Hypodermis is not comes under the cutaneous membrane. This is the third layer of the skin. This is called the subcutaneous. Subcutaneous means just below the cutaneous membrane. It's also made by the adipose tissue. Adipose tissue means the fat cells present in the adipose tissue. It's not the part of the cutaneous membrane but provides the insulation and cushion to the body surfaces. Next is the cutaneous membrane functions. First is the protection. We already know the functions of the skin. Protection, sensation, different types of sensation. Next is the excretions. Because of the different types of glands also present in the skin, we secrete the different types of hormones and enzymes. Next is the temperature regulations by excretions of the sweat. Next is the vitamin D synthesis. Vitamin D synthesis because of the exposure of the sunlight, then 7-dehydrocholesterol substance present in the skin and a reaction with the sunlight and formation of the vitamin D. Next, fourth membrane is the synovial membrane. So, synovial membrane present on the freely movable joint of the body. It's also made by the connective tissue membrane, line the inner surface of the freely movable joint that is called the synovial joints. Synovial joints secrete the fluid that is called the synovial fluid, which will help for the lubrications and nourishment to the joints. For example, you can see this is the knee joints, this is the cartilage, articular cavity, synovial fluid, and this is synovial membrane. First is the intima and second is the subintima. Subintima made by the fibrous layer and intima made by the synovial membrane. So, synovial membrane made by the two layers. First is the intimal layer, second is the subintimal layer. Intimal layer also called a synoviocytes. Synoviocytes again divided into two, type A synoviocytes and type B synoviocytes. Synoviocytes produces the synovial fluid in the synovial cavity. First is the A synoviocytes, helpful for the phagocytic and remove the debris from the joints. Second is synoviocytes, that is the B synoviocytes, helps to secrete the hyaluronic acids and protein for the synovial fluids. So there are two functions of the synoviocytes. First is the phagocytic and remove the debris or waste product from the joints. Second, B synoviocytes secretes the hyaluronic acid and proteins for the synovial fluids. Second, you can see a subintimal layer made by the loose connective tissue and with the blood vessels and lymphatic and nerves. So in this subintimal layer, there is presence of the blood vessels, lymphatic vessels and nerve supplies. So what are the locations of the synovial membrane? So location of the synovial membrane present mainly on the freely movable joints. So what are the freely movable joints in the body? Number one, knee joints. Second is the shoulder joints. Next, hip joints, that is also called the ball and socket joints. And next is the elbow joints, also called the hinge joints. So these are the mainly the synovial joints present in these areas. Because of these are the structures have freely movable in the body. Next, what are the functions of the synovial membrane? So first function is secretions of synovial fluid. Synovial fluid helpful for the lubrications of the joint surfaces during the walking. Second, the nutrition to the cartilages. Avascular cartilages, articular cartilages receive the nourishment from the fluid because cartilages don't have a blood supply. Directly nerve supply not present in the cartilages. Then where is receive the nutrition? Receive the nutrition from the synovial fluid. Next is the shock absorptions. So synovial fluid provide the cushioning to the joints. Next is the waste removal. Already we discussed. Help remove the metabolic waste from the joints cavity. And next is the defense by the type A synoviocytes engulf the debris and pathogens. Next, fifth membrane is the meninges. Meninges covering the brain and spinal cords. or mainly present in the central nervous system. In the protective connective tissue membrane that surround the brain and spinal cord, it has three layers. Dura mater, outside. Second is the arachnoid mater, and third is the pia mater. So you can see the structures of the brain. First is scalp. This is your scalp. Next is the skull. These are the skull bones. Next is the periosteal dura mater. Periosteal dura mater attachment to the skull. You can see this is the periosteal dura mater attachment to the skull. Next is the meningeal dura mater attachment to the meninges. Second is the arachnoid mater. This is the arachnoid mater. And last is the subarachnoid space, and last is the pia mater. And this space is called the subarachnoid space. And this is the cerebral cortex. So in this space, that is the subarachnoid space between the two layers, between the dura mater and pia mater. This is the pia mater and this is the arachnoid mater. Between the space is called subarachnoid space. And in this space, there is fluid present that is called the cerebrospinal fluids. So what are the spaces associated with the meninges? There are three spaces. Number one, epidural space, subdural space, and subarachnoid space. Where it is the epidural space between the dura mater and vertebral column. So you can see epidural space. So this is the epidural space between the dura mater. So this is your dura mater and this is your vertebral column. So between the dura mater and vertebral column, there is a space is called epidural space. Second is the subdural space. Subdural space between the dura mater and arachnoid mater. So you can see subdural space between the, this is your dura mater and last is the arachnoid mater, and between the dura mater and arachnoid mater, this is called the subdural space. Last is the subarachnoid space between the arachnoid and pia mater, and fluid is present, which is called the CSF. So CSF present in the arachnoid mater and pia mater spaces, and the space is called the subarachnoid space. You can see this is epidural space, subdural space between the dura mater and arachnoid mater, subarachnoid space between the arachnoid and pia mater, and fluid is present, CSF. You can see there are different types of anesthetic drugs insert into the subdural spaces or epidural spaces or inside the CSF. These are the ligaments flavum, dura mater, arachnoid and pia mater. These are the structures of the spinal cord. Next, what are the functions of the meninges? So first is the protection of the brain and spinal cord by the presence of the fluid, that is the CSF, cerebrospinal fluid. Next is provide a supportive framework for blood vessels, circulation and contain the CSF, which cushion and nourish the central nervous system, and form venous sinuses for the venous blood drainages. Next, sixth membrane is the periosteum. So periosteum covering the bone. Periosteum covers the outer surfaces of the bone except at the joints, because at the joint surfaces covered by the articular cartilages. It has also two layers. First is the outer fibrous layer and inner is the osteogenic layer. Outer fibrous layer made by the dense irregular connective tissue. There are different types of connective tissue we already discussed in the connective tissue. It contains the collagen fibers, blood vessels and nerves, and provide the attachment for tendons and ligaments. Ligaments for the bone to bone and tendons for the bone to muscles. Next is the inner cellular or osteogenic layers. So osteogenic layer, this is the osteoblast, osteoclast, and osteocytes. There are three types of cells present in the bone. Osteoblasts helpful for the bone forming cells, means the bone formation done by the cell, that is called the osteoblast cells. Osteoclast, bone resorbing cells, means extra bone formations is reabsorbed by the osteoclasts. And osteocytes is the provide the size and shape to the bone structures. So these are the different types of osteogenic cells. So you can see this is the femur, a long bone of the femur, and this part is called the periosteum. This is the internal structure, endosteum. Osteoclast. Osteoclast helpful for the bone resorbing cells. So this is the osteoclast cells helpful for the bone resorbing cells. This is the bone matrix. This is the osteocytes. Osteocytes helpful for the provide the accurate size and shape to the bone. These are the osteogenic cells. And last is the osteoblast. Osteoblast is the bone forming cells. Bone cells, new formation of the cells done by the osteoblast cells. So these are the different types of osteogenic cells present in the bone. Next, what are the functions of the periosteum? So periosteum functions of number one, protection. Protection means covering and protection the outer surfaces of the bone. Nutrition provides the blood supply to the bone tissues. And next is the bone growth, contributing the oppositional growth. Oppositional growth means increase in the thickness of the bone. Next is the bone repair. Bone repair means case of the fractures, helpful for the bone healing fractures by providing the osteoblasts. Next is the attachment. Attachment done by the tendons and ligaments. Tendon helpful for the attachment of bone with the muscles, and ligaments attachment of the bone to bone by the periosteum, that is called the Sharpie fibers. Next is the sensation. Because of the fibers, pain fibers also present in the bone, and during the fractures also we feel the pain because of the fibers, pain fibers present in the bone. Last is the perichondrium. Perichondrium membrane present on the cartilages. So perichondrium is a dense irregular connective tissue membrane that surround the cartilages, except the joint sides, because joint side is covered by the synovial membranes. Except the synovial membrane, the cartilage is covered by the perichondrium membrane. Again, perichondrium also has two layers, that is the outer fibrous layer and inner chondrogenic layer. Outer fibrous layer, you can see this is the outer fibrous layer and this is the chondrogenic layer. Outer fibrous layer made by the fibroblast. You can see fibroblast. These are the different types of collagen fibers, blood vessels, and nerves. So fibrous layer means tough layer, and it also provides the strength and protection to the surfaces. Next is the chondrogenic layer. Chondrogenic layer means the presence of the chondroblast. Chondroblast cells helpful for the formation of the new cartilaginous cells and responsible for the growth and repair of the cartilages. During the fracture, if your cartilages is damages, then it is replaced by the new perichondrium cells, by the chondroblasts. Next, what are the functions of the perichondrium? Number one, nourishment, supply the nutrition to the cartilages. Next is the growth, help in oppositional growth of cartilages. Next is the repair during the fractures of the cartilages. Next is the protection from the mechanical support and flexibility during the movement. And attachment, connection of the cartilages to the other structures. So these are the different types of membrane. So this is all about the membranes of the body. There are different types of membrane we discussed in the today lectures. If you have any doubt related to the membranes, you can comment me. And thank you so much for watching this video. And thank you so much. We will see you in the next lectures. Thank you so much.